Hello, I am Mariano Gutierrez Alarcón and welcome to the 12th Man Academy, the show that asks the questions we believe the fans want to know about football. Joining me for this series is well-known and passionate manager Gus Poyet and our voice of the fans, long-suffering supporter Stephen Brown. Together, we will get inside the pitch and hope to answer your doubts about managing at the top end of the game, while we get the inside track of being a top-level football manager. In each episode, we get a better understanding of the thoughts, the decision-making, and the philosophies of a top-level coach, from picking a club captain to tactics and team identity as we connect the fans to the manager. In this series, we reference to past events as we use examples that were happening in the football world at the time we recorded this podcast. In this episode, we talk in depth about club discipline and the media.
From a manager point of view, there is many things that you cannot say to the press, and in terms of that, it leads me again to a different case that we start talking about, which is the case on Manchester City. Pep Guardiola having to, warn two players for behaving badly after a big win. Complete different circumstances. Because we can say in Arsenal that probably Aubameyang could be sacrificed as well, because he as a player was actually losing his presence in the team as well as his personality probably doesn't fit the bill for being a captain. But in the case of Manchester City, which is a very strong manager with very strong personalities on the pitch, many captains that we cannot argue that they were truly good captains. So what happens in that sort of discipline communications towards that?
Okay, normally the fans, they know nothing. They know, I don't want to exaggerate, but they don't get 10% of the things that happen during the week. I think during the last 10 years, that percentage is increasing because somehow things they are leaked to the press or to social media. And that goes against the situation, the atmosphere that you want to create in your own team as a manager. You know, when nothing is coming out, you can control everything that happens in there. When it becomes public and people got an opinion, then it's more difficult to control it. On top of that, when you as a manager, you need to deal with the press, knowing that they know is different to when you can keep it for yourself. I'll make an example. You're gonna find a player because he done something that is not right. And they can ask you if you're going to find him, and you can say that it's an internal issue, we will deal with it, and you don't comment anything on it. Now, when everybody knows, if the question is, no, we know that you're going to find in 2 weeks' wages, and that is whatever money is, you saying that you don't comment or whatever, it looks a little bit stupid, especially if you have too many problems. So the situation with Guardiola was that somehow it was public. I don't know how. I don't know who said it. So after the last game of Grealish, especially, that he was looking to score goals and the performance he had, it was a surprise. I don't think it was a surprise playing or not playing, because Guardiola changed the team a lot. It was a situation with the two players that everybody knew. So we're dealing with a different situation now, different. For you to maintain that, you need to be in a special place. I've been lucky to coach in different countries. I'm going to say it a little bit more specifically now because I know that they know how they are. When I was in Greece, I had a meeting in the dressing room, and 20 minutes later, I was coming back from the press conference to my dressing room, and one of the players came and tried to show me on the phone, it was in Greek, obviously, that it was in the press already which players they talk in the dressing room in that meeting with me. We're talking about 20 minutes. It's a wake-up call for you. I was growing up in Uruguay, that the dressing room was 4 walls and nothing was coming out of there. And then you're in a position where everything come out if they want. You cannot control it. So you need to be very careful how you manage that situation. And you need to pay attention what you said, and things, they change dramatically. So you need to adapt a lot to where you are and who you work with. If on top of that, we add that in social media, anyone, and I'm talking about anyone, any age, any country, anywhere in the world, can put whatever they like, being true or not, and people will comment on it. And maybe even television programs like in South America, they talk 20 minutes about what is being said in social media, which it becomes true. The truth.
Even if it's not.
Even if it's not. how you deal with that. You know, I've been in press conferences in South America, people asking me if I had a problem with a player in the week, and you go like, what? Why do I need to say no when nothing? And the player himself, after the game, he was interviewed, and they asked him a question. Let's put a stupid question: 2 + 2, and he answered. Before answering that question, I want to say I didn't have any fight with the manager because he was hurt because people was even comment against him for having a fight with me that we didn't have. So you need to be.
So you didn't have nothing. It was just a lie.
Nothing at all. Listen, when I go to the press conference and the media officer told me, maybe they will ask you that you had a fight, not a discussion, a fight with this player. And I thought it was a joke, so I laughed. He said, no, it's true. And I said, what? Because I don't have social media. I didn't know, sorry. But the player that he had, he was dealing with that situation all week. You know, like, no. And they say, yeah, you're always problematic. They were criticizing him for having a fight when he didn't, which is something that me in particular, I think we need to be very careful. And that makes Guardiola to comment in something that probably Guardiola 10 years ago wouldn't comment at all. But then you need to make decisions. And the decisions sometimes, they're difficult, like the Arteta one or like the Guardiola one, very difficult. And everything will depend on the result. If you win with that decision, you become stronger, more powerful. If you don't win, then the players, they got something to say. So it's very important that you show who is in charge, because, you know, I think slowly, the players, they got plenty of power in football nowadays. And I think it's important that the manager shows who is in charge, which is
how do you do that? How do you introduce that discipline when you're fresh to a club? It's when you start a new job out, you know, for me and Mariano, you go in, you're just like, it's a big, like, I don't know anyone as such, and you start learning. You can go in and say, right, this is my way, da. Do you do it that way? Is that how you would go in?
Yeah, normally I set up the basics, and then I leave the details to negotiate with the captains. But I set up the basics. The most important there is that you do it. I'll make an example. I like to start training, let's make a number, a time, 10 o'clock. Training start at 10 o'clock. If you are not 10 o'clock, we start. Without you, we start. Now, I'm there. You know what I mean? You cannot be late. If you are the one said it, I'm there at 8 o'clock. But what I mean is, I'm there all the time. I don't think I've been late once. I always say to the players, just in case, remember, I'm the manager, maybe the president called me, maybe the owner called me, maybe the sport director called me. But I'm there, you know. There is exceptions. Of course there is exceptions, especially in England with traffic, with rain, with whatever. But we know when there is exceptions. It cannot be that 10 players are coming from the same way in the car and everybody go there half an hour earlier and one is late and it was the traffic. No, it's not. The other 9, they are on time, so you were late anyway. So it's very simple that. But I think the players, they are good. I will defend the players on that. I think 99.9% they are very good. You can have one that is always different, but you don't have problem with timing, with respect, with training, with parties. I think the problem that we got in this world that we are living is that bad one is the one is coming out. The other 999 that is not coming out, and that's a problem because we don't talk about the good ones. We talk about the bad ones, which is the life that we're living at the moment.
Sorry, Mariano.
Yep. No,
it's just interesting for me from the fan's perspective. When you take over a club, so the first thing you do when you walk through the door, you see these videos that the clubs make now of the manager and his giving his statement to the fans, and we're in this together, we're doing it for you. When you're talking to your players and you're introduced to your players for the very first time, are you doing it on the training pitch? Are you inside? Are you in the canteen?
In the dressing room. Normally, if I can, I do it in the dressing room. If it's a place where the dressing room is not comfortable because of the size or because not everybody can see me and there is a special room like a Navy room, a video room, I will do it there. Normally, you introduce yourself, you introduce your staff, you tell them why you're coming, what is the reason, why you believe in that it's possible. You tell them what is the basics of your game, what you're going to train, what is the basic on the rules in terms of respect, blah, 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 everything that normally, you believe. And then you leave the details for later on when you meet the captain. You know that there's going to be 1 or 2 captains that are already at the club, or 2 or 3, but then I will pick another 2. Sometimes they are the same, because like I said, it's easy. Sometimes there are 2 new ones. I always like every now and then, depending on how long you are at the club, that's important. When you're long in a club, I like after 1 year or 1 year and a half, start bringing into meetings one of the young ones, just to listen, because that player start learning to be in a meeting and seeing how the manager talks to the captains, being a kid. But for that you need time. But the rules from the beginning.
So when you say captains, we talked earlier about having the captain on the pitch. You're on your go-to guy that's representing you and your thoughts and your football. When you talk about the other captains, who are they and what are they for?
Normally you have another one afterwards, after the first one, because it's not going to be there all the time. And then there is always the captains that the players they choose, for example, to have a meeting with the owners, meeting with the directors, where there's always issues about the team, and there is 3 or 4. I make an example. When I was at Chelsea, it would be Dennis Wise, Marcel Desailly, me, maybe sometimes Di Matteo, Zola, Fran Lebert. We were those 4 or 5. Then you go to Spurs, and it was Teddy Sheringham, Le Ferdinand, Tim Sherwood, Darrando, myself. I was the last one because I was there later. Naturally, it's not something new. Now the captain was one, So that's the ones that you need to talk, because it's always it's nice to have different opinion, because it's not like one player only and everything is through him, and the different characters as well. So you need a little bit of 3 or 4, and also because they need to represent the players. Again, you are in England, you need an English player, and maybe you need a foreign player to understand the foreign part of that. What they need, what the family needs. There is different things. And that becomes natural on me. But the rules, what they call the timings, the respect, the level of training, everything that is going around the preparation for the game is set up by the manager, 100%. And when you set it up early, it's very simple. When you let a little bit freedom, you have a big problem with the player.
Thank you for tuning in on our discussion on club discipline and the media at the 12 Man Academy. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe to the series, leave a winning review or a 5-star rating on the platform you're listening on. And do not forget to check our website at www.12asintheword-man-academy.com and let us know what would you like to know. If you would like to sponsor this podcast, please email us to sponsors@the12manacademy.com. See you next time at the 12 Man Academy.